everybody, I'm Bryan Drake. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. I'm your guest host for this morning. So, Tom is doing a new thing where he's having guest hosts come in and host the best show about board games, that is Board Game Breakfast. Such a great, fun experience. So it's an honor for me to get to come and hang out with you guys today doing this Board Game Breakfast as we look at all these amazing thoughts and ideas, the things that the contributors have come together and put together for us to dive in and soak into this wonderful hobby. So, without further ado, let's get this thing going. So rather than doing a what I found on the internet segment this week, I wanted to give you something on the internet that you could hopefully enjoy and share with others. So, it all starts with a potato. This one, you notice it could use a haircut, much like me. These are needles. Now, here's what I want you to do. Do not try what you're about to see at home. Ever, anywhere, never, ever, ever. Never, ever, ever try what you're about to see at home. It's incredibly tense, right? All right, let's see. Dropped one. That's okay. We don't need that one. Actually, I don't know if that's how fast they're swallowing or not. It just looks more dramatic like that. You're like, oh, he's in such control of his body, right? No. Now, here's where the party gets really, really gross. You can zoom in on your phone if you want, but I apologize in advance. Make sure you don't see anything here. All good? Sorry. Suckers are a little bit fibrous, so. Mint dental floss. Spared no expense. It's levitating. No, it's really not. Oh. Oh, that mint wax just burns the entire way down. Oh. Anyway. Sorry. This is the worst part. Boom, there we go, a brand new necklace, just like that. No, I'm kidding, that's disgusting. So, hope you guys enjoyed that. Just a little piece of illusion just for you.
Hi, Stella.
And Tarrant here.
We have a game to share you today. Dinosaur Tea Party.
Yeah.
Which is originally released earlier a few years ago called Who's It?
Yep, so it's a re-implementation of Who's It, which is based on the same sort of things as Guess Who, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's by Restoration Games, so of course it's doing that sort of restoration.
Yeah. This game is restored.
Yeah. And it's essentially...
it's puzzle deduction.
It's a puzzle deduction game. There's a series of dinosaurs who have various characteristics, spots or stripes, whether they're eating cake or drinking tea
Wearing
or
a
having
hat.
nothing at the tea party.
Yes.
And in the same sort of style as the classic children's game Guess Who,
Yes.
players will ask each other questions about the features of their dinosaur,
Yeah.
trying to identify who is playing
is the person. Yeah. So it is a light, it's good game for families. So it's not as complex as other puzzle deductions, like, you know, what, Cryptid or
it's not a Cryptid. It's very much a game for children who have outgrown Guess Who.
Guess Who? Yep.
Need something a little more complex, because in addition to the pictures and there being a few more characteristics to go for, there's also some tiles that change up the cards completely. So there's one that makes it, instead of looking like its character, it actually just reverses the characteristics and so on.
And it's a good thing in the rulebook as well.
Yep, the game tries to lend some theme into the Tea Party by encouraging fake British Tea Party accents.
You can do it.
Yep. Oh, are you wearing a hat, good sir? Things like that.
Yeah, I can do it. So that's basically it. So hopefully you enjoy that. We are on the Dice Tower, How to Play and Pocket Playthrough on the, I did say Dice Tower videos, and Meeple University on YouTube. See you next time.
So this week we are reviewing something other than board games. Now, if you've watched my videos, you know of the reviews that I do. I always figure out a way to sneak in a reference to usually classic wrestling, you know, Hogan, Andre, all that sort of stuff, WrestleMania 3. But I'm a big fan of old school wrestling and even current product wrestling. So I wanted to talk this week about something that just recently happened, but only because it was so different. And this week in reviews, other things, we're reviewing WrestleMania 36, the Tampa Bay edition, which ended up being just in the Performance Center. So what does that mean? Normally WrestleMania is in front of a crowd of, 60, 70,000 people. Unless you're at Madison Square Gardens, it's about 20,000 people. It's a lot of people though, right? This year, because of all the different things going on, they had to shut down and have no crowd. So they did WrestleMania with no crowd. You had just commentators, just the wrestlers in the ring. So it's a very, very surreal experience when you're listening to, people take bumps in the ring, chair shots, ladder matches, all this stuff. And then this is the reaction. Total silence. It was so jarring at first, but I'm going to talk about this a little bit later in the Think section. A lot of ideas were used to make the best of a bad situation in a creative and unique way. So let's break down some of the things that happened. First of all, it was a 2-night event. They did WrestleMania over 2 nights, and if you have the WWE Network, you can still go and watch this. But first night was really good. A lot of great matches in the ring. But the thing that stole it all was at the end, it was an Undertaker AJ Styles Boneyard match. What this was a basically short film fight scene. And it's interesting to see, okay, how do we take this situation that was forced upon us and do something fun with it? And they did it, and they pulled it off. So the matches were great. If you like wrestling, this was just a fun experience just to watch and take in, right? Seeing Braun Strowman come out as champion, really, really cool stuff. And then the next night was the Firefly Funhouse match. This is where things got really crazy. There were a couple of great matches as well. Charlotte Flair stole the show. It was an amazing job. But at the end, close to the end, they did a Firefly Funhouse match. And basically, this is another one of those short films, but it was Bray Wyatt, the Fiend character, getting inside of John Cena's head. Now, why I bring that up is because those characters really just go beyond the reigns of WWE, right? I mean, there's Dice Masters, there's Hero Clicks now of these characters, so it's really fun to see kind of how they did this. And what it was just kind of a very meta expose of wrestling just through the eras, the WCW, NWO days, the classic Saturday Night Main Event days. It was really fun. So if you're a wrestling fan, classic or new, or even not a wrestling fan at all, but you just want to see something different than it normally is, this is almost like I've got to see what they did with this situation. Go check out WrestleMania 36 and just see how they adapted to a situation with no audience there at all. So it was a really interesting product, a really interesting topic, and some great surprises and matches and things like that as well, if you are a fan.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, we are Ryan and Bethany.
From Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
All right, well, today we're going to be talking about Oceanos. This is from Yellow and Antoine Baza.
So, one thing that is awesome for me and could potentially be awesome for you is going outside. I know we've been talking about that a lot recently, but there's a lot of good nutrients that come from the sun. And I know that for me personally, if I'm inside all day, which I have been recently, it really affects my mood, like a lot more than I want it to. And I will force myself to go outside. Sometimes I'm just standing outside while the girls are playing chalk just to get the nutrients that the sun gives me. So I would just encourage everybody, if you can, go outside just to get that free medicine that is the sun.
All right, so while you're outside, you can play a game of Oceanos. Mm-hmm. Not really. But it does take place in the outdoors. You're drafting cards in this game, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to kind of build this picture, this seascape. You know, the shallow waters, kind of the deeper waters, and then really the ocean floor. You're drafting these cards in order to kind of make this big picture. You're going to be diving for treasures, kind of a push your luck element to it. You're trying to connect all these different coral reefs and collect all these different animals as well. So there's really kind of a lot of different ways to score in this game.
Yeah, I really like this game. I thought it was a lot of fun. I like that picture that you create at the end, like Ryan said, and all those different floors of the ocean and how it all looks at the end. I really like that. I like how you draft the cards. I like how you can be searching for things and not get what you want and then pass something to somebody else where you know they really don't want that, so it doesn't help them either. And I just had a lot of fun with this game.
You get a little submarine with all these different tiles, all these different pieces to it that each represent a different part of the game, and you can upgrade that as the game goes on. You can upgrade your periscope so you can see more cars, or upgrade your propeller so you get more points each round. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of customize your own submarine. It's a lot of fun.
If you want to hear our full thoughts on this game, go ahead and find us on YouTube under Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews, or find us on Facebook under Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. Everybody, this is Ryan. I'm Bethany, hoping you have a happy, healthy breakfast.
Bye everybody.
Guys.
Hi everybody, I'm Doug Jr. And that's not Doug the Third. No, that is my wife Nancy, my wife of over 35 years. Well, Nancy's not the gamer that I am, but she does enjoy playing board games from time to time. And in fact, our whole family will play together sometimes, but I have found during this time of quarantine that we've all been in the house that sometimes as gamers we have to compromise and let the other person pick the game that they want to play. So I'm going to do a series where I ask my family what games they'd like to play. Nancy, I'm going to ask you to go to the shelves and pick out the game that you would like most to play. And we're back. Nancy picked out Wingspan, which is awesome because I love Wingspan too. But I'm going to ask you just real quick, tell me a couple of things you like about Wingspan.
I love the aesthetics, the texture of the different parts, the little birdhouse that you put together. It's so cute. Yeah, I love the texture. I love the artwork. The artwork is really, really good. I love the fact that it is educational. I love learning things. I love the strategy of it, and that you can actually plan your strategy in order to gain the most points. So it's some luck involved, but it's a lot of strategy and planning too.
During this time, remember, we've all got to kind of compromise. So, hey, if you don't get to play the one you want to play every night, just be all right with that. And play something that everybody enjoys and just kind of give in a little bit. It'll make this time that we're all stuck in the house go by a lot better. Hey, thanks so much for watching A Fellowship of Meeples. We'll see you next time.
So no doubt that you're taking in extra content being that you're home right now, but we have got an amazing list of things coming your way this week. Tonight, Tom is doing and continuing the daily chat series at 9 o'clock, but also today I'm taking a look at Fallout Shelter. Liz is taking a look at Conflict of Heroes, but also this week Tom is continuing his 10,000 and Below series. Don't sleep on this series. It's a really phenomenal thing where he's going through games that are listed below 10,000 on BGG and talking about some of those hidden gems that are on there. So don't forget to check that out. As well as this week coming is a Downforce expansion review with Tom, as well as this week the Dice Tower Award nominations video goes up. So there's a lot of great content coming from the Dice Tower this week. Let's keep going with breakfast.
Two brothers set loose in a thrift store. This is Thrift Store Throwbacks.
Wow.
Hey, buddy, what you up to?
Oh, dude, I'm getting ready to play Mountain Climbers, dude.
So, climbing in front of a green screen in Ventura is helping you with that?
Well, we live in LA, man. There's no snow. There's no mountain, you know? What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, but I, like, that. This is as little athleticism as playing the game would take.
But, like, I got mad core strength right now, dude.
Yeah.
I'm just getting ready for the game, you know?
Yeah, but you're in an office chair right now.
Well, yeah, man. I'm swirling around. What if I got to do some sweet turnarounds on
Look,
this mountain?
you're not going
dude.
to learn the game this way, so I'll just teach the game instead. How about that? You can keep climbing.
All right, man. Gah.
Ooh. All right, so this is Climb the Mountain. This is a game where you're hoping to climb the mountain and be this really cool person at the top. So on your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to spin. And the cool thing is you get an option of number to jump to, either the 1 or the 6. Now, the 1 is only here, the 6 is here, so I'm going to go to the 6. Then the next person goes and stuff, and you might get the chance, if you go on a 5, to jump up to a 2. So you can be like, boop, boop, and you can jump up if you match there. But the inverse is true. If I took a 5, or a 2 rather, and had to come down here, I would slip down. And basically, it plays out just like a Chutes and Ladders, where you're hoping to be the luckiest and the best spinneroo person there and to climb the mountain. Just like real mountain climbing, it's just really about being able to do small dexterous motions. So that was
Climb the Mountain.
Climb That Mountain, which is basically Candyland with fitness involved.
Yeah, you know,
No,
it's kind
real
of Chutes and
fitness.
Ladders, you know. It's like one of those classic Parker Brothers
That's what I was going
type
for.
games. It's got that kind of
You got to go
Like,
up, and sometimes you slip.
you know,
You got to get up to get down.
like Sunday morning cartoon
I know.
art, you know.
I actually love that about this. The art style this is something that I've always really loved. Advertisements, the way the art was always done for that. I got this actually as a gift, which was like super sweet because it is old. And it was shrunk wrapped, so it was kind of kept nice and stuff like that. And it's super cool. Like, it's just another alternate Chutes and Ladders. There were many of them.
Yeah.
But love the old-timey art, and therefore this gets a pass. Anyway, folks, that's it for us. We are the Brothers Murph. If you like what we do, visit our YouTube channel, The Brothers Murph. We do top 10s and all sorts of fun stuff. Subscribe today, and you can get all sorts of fun things. Until next time, we'll see you on the top of that mountain.
Right there.
Hey everyone! Today on 2 Minute Mini we're turning the formless spawn from Mansions of Madness from this into this in just 2 minutes. Hey everyone, Matty from the Plastic Canvas and welcome to 2 Minute Mini, and today we're painting the formless spawn from Mansions of Madness. Now this was a mini that once I primed, I really had no idea how I was going to approach this, and so this ended up sitting just on my shelf for probably a good 6 months after being primed, just watching other minis that came in after it getting painted before it, and it just kept getting pushed further and further back in the line just while I thought about how I was going to approach it. And in that time while this guy was sitting on the shelf waiting to be painted, there were another couple of minis from Mansions of Madness that I painted in a similar style to what I ended up doing with this guy, where I used washes as the base coat. So the great thing about washes is that because of their transparency, they still allow whatever is underneath them to show through to some degree. So if you lay down a Zenithal Prime and then put washes over the top, where it goes over the white, it's going to be a lot brighter than where it goes over the black. And so using washes as a base coat over a Zenithal Prime gives you essentially free shading. And so that's what I did here. So I mixed up a green and brown sort of mucky, grossish kind of skin color, laid that down with the washes, and then swapped over to my acrylics for the finer detail areas like the eyes and the teeth and those sorts of spots where I needed that higher level of control and I didn't want it to flow quite so much. So that was the basic approach that I went. Washes for the skin tones, and a little bit of wet blending in there to get some tonal variation in the skin, and then acrylics where I needed that higher control. So if you'd like to see the full episode of me painting this guy, head over to my channel, The Plastic Canvas, and I hope you enjoy your breakfast.
As many of you know, especially those of you who are on the cruise with us, my wife Carla and I are stage magicians. This is what we do for a living. We travel all across the country, across the world, doing big mentalism shows, 500 to 2,000 to 6,000 people audiences, right? So we're used to that sort of idea of being in front of a crowd and just entertaining and doing all these crazy tricks and illusions, hence all the magical stuff here. But things are different right now. Obviously, we can't be on the road doing what we do. We can't be in front of people, but there are two options, and you've heard Tom kind of talk about this the last couple weeks in the things. There are two options. You can be bitter and be groaning and be irritated, or you can be a positive catalyst of change, and hopefully that is what we're going to do. So for instance, in this time, we're putting out a lot of digital content when it comes to our Magic. We're figuring out, okay, how can we take an effect where you were sitting in your house 17,000 miles away from me, and I'm able to talk through and do an illusion with you all the way wherever you are, right? And it blows your mind. Or tomorrow night I'm going to get on Zoom and we're going to do this crazy illusion show with a student ministry in Louisiana. And here we are in Alabama. So what it's done is this craziness and stuff that's going on has caused us to be a positive catalyst of change in what we do. So we take the old ideas that could have become stale and could have become boring and could have just left us doing the same thing over and over again. And because of these situations, we're now forced into being creative, right? And that to me is a cool idea. I mean, one of my favorite phrases is the idea that necessity is the mother of all invention. I think that's the phrase. I said it's my favorite phrase, but I butchered it right there. But the idea is that when you need something, that's when you come up with a way to solve it, right? So a couple years ago, we do this needles routine where I swallow a bunch of needles and then swallow some thread and I pull the needles out like this. And it's pretty crazy. It freaks people out. It's a great way to open the show. But I used to do a method that was a lot more cumbersome, had a lot more moving parts involved. And I didn't really like it, but it's all I knew. So we're packing up in an event and it was pouring down rain. This was actually an outdoor, big, giant festival event. And it started pouring down rain. So we're packing up and the stage crew grabbed our bag that we had sitting there and put it with their stuff in their truck, headed to New Jersey, whereas we're headed to Mississippi to go home to Alabama the next day. Well, I get to the show the next day and I'm going through my bag trying to find the stuff to do this needles routine and it's not there. So I really wanted to do the routine because I needed it for this conference that we were kind of keynote performing at. And rather than just saying, well, we're going to scrap it, we're not going to do this, we thought, okay, how can we come up with another method and do it? So a method was born that is way simpler, but it's also much more convincing and much creepier looking. And because of not having what we needed and being forced to come up with a new method in creativity, it allowed us to have a better method now. So what does that have to do with board games? So what does it have to do with any of this in the Bryan Thinks segment? We're not here for Bryan, we're here for Tom. I understand. What does that have to do with it? Well, think about this for a minute. You can't be with your friends necessarily doing a game night right now. Companies aren't able to just come in and exhibit it at a trade show currently. So how can you at this moment go from being maybe bitter, maybe irritated, maybe just like, well, I'm done with all of this, to wait a minute, how can I be a positive catalyst of change? I've seen a lot of people playing games over online services that they never would have before, right? I think what's good and what's useful is when all of this ends, instead of just going, okay, we're done with those ideas, we don't want to do that anymore, going, okay, wait a minute, what positive changes to the industry, to the hobby, to whatever, can I take with me from that and bring to the current, to the present, right? There has to be a lot of these ideas that people are coming up with creatively to get their gaming itch scratched necessarily, that can be carried forward. And I know we're thinking of some things already and ways to do that, whether that be in the industry in game design or game distribution or things like that, or whether it's you being able to hang out with your friends. Some of you probably thought, I'm never going to play a solo game, right? And then all of a sudden you look at your shelf and go, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 1 to 5. I'll try those, you know what I'm saying? So I've seen a lot of pictures of Terraforming Mars solo. I've seen a lot of pictures of things like that. But not only that, some people have said, well, I'll never play a game over, or I'll never play an app for Sagrada, I'll never do this or this or this. And they're like, well, I really want to play some board games. So my encouragement and my thought this week would be, how can we take what we're being forced to do by situations out of our control and use them as a positive catalyst for creative change in our habits and our ideas and our thought processes? But not only that, going off of what I was talking about earlier in my review of other things section, think about it, WrestleMania, right? That Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match totally changed the way that the WWE has to do their things in order to present their product in a unique and creative way. So I thought that was a very good example of using the situations around you and coming up with something new and creative that will probably stand the test of time and go on into storytelling moving forward. So that is kind of the Think segment this week, is what are you doing right now with all of the situations that are on you to come up with a creative catalyst of change in order to impact the way that things will go on in your hobby, in your industry going forward.
Hello, and welcome back to Retro Board Game Corner. Here I have Brainwaves, published in 1977 by Milton Bradley. This is a two-player game in which you're trying to fake out your opponent by moving 2 of your pawns across the board. Can you do it before they do? Let me set this up and show you how it works. This is what the game would look like set up. One player is going to take the 3 pyramid pawns, and the other player is going to take the 3 pillar pawns. Now you're going to initially set them up by the colors that are shown on your side of the board. Red, green, yellow. On every turn you're going to roll a 6-sided dice. Now you're going to pick a color pawn to move for that turn secretly by moving your knob on your side of the board. Now your opponent is going to do the same thing, and he's going to try to guess what color pawn you picked for that turn. So after you have both done picking a color, then you're going to hit this button here, which is called the brain. Now the lights are going to light up. If the lights match each other, that means you cannot move the pawn for that turn. But if it's a different color, like in the example here, you have successfully outwitted your opponent, and then you can move your pawn that many pips in any direction except diagonally. If at any time you land on your opponent's pawn by exact count, you have to send him back to one of his starting stars. Now, the object of the game is to try to get 2 of your own pawns to your opponent's side on any star, but you do not need to get there by exact count. So once they're there, you have won the game. You gotta love 1970s technology. The real star of the game is the brain here that's located at the center of the board. In my opinion, this game was way ahead of its time, where you're trying to fake out your opponent, trying to move both your pieces to the other side. Well, that's all the time I have for now. If you have a comment below, or you can tweet them to me at RetroBoardGamer. And as always, may your rolls be high.
Hi, we're Board Game Opinions. I'm Amy.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Mark.
And today we're talking about Wingspan on our Cafe Play segment.
Now, Wingspan was very popular with gamers, wasn't it, when it first came out?
Hugely. And hard to get hold of.
Yeah,
and now that's not the case anymore. Maybe that's where our flip has come in, where people are playing it a bit more in the cafe.
So you're finding sort of the non-gamery market are coming in and requesting?
Yep, we've got families coming in. We've had people reserve their table alongside Wingspan, which we don't usually kind of hold games for people, but they were so adamant. They really, really wanted to play. I was like, yep, sure, okay, I'll pop that aside for you.
It's gone beyond the game market. It has to be able to do that, to get families coming to ask for it. It does have the least offensive theme of all time.
Yeah, so we had a family, I think there was like a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old mum and dad play, and they loved it. The kids got into the theme a bit more as they started to play. They weren't enthralled by it at the start, but they did get into it a lot more.
That's a really significant achievement, I think. For a game of that weight, to break out into that kind of family market with the likes of Splendor and Century Spice Road and things, which people tend to request a lot, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. It is really brilliant that that's kind of become the case, and I think the game becoming more accessible within you being able to purchase it has also helped with that. I think when the game was sparse, it was limited to a gamer's market, because gamers were the only ones going out of their way to get hold of it, whereas now it's a little bit more readily available. It's in stock in places a lot of the time. I think it's burst out into that family and cafe gamers market.
This just has to be a word of mouth thing.
It has
in
to
my
be.
opinion. I can't see where it'd be anything else.
Yeah. Unless Board Game Geek's getting more popular.
Maybe amongst the gamers, sure. I'm not sure about the non-gamers, but
True. But hey, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for watching. That was Wingspan. We'll see you next time. Bye.
So that's it. Hope you had a great board game breakfast. I know that I get recharged and energized like a nice cup of coffee after watching Board Game Breakfast. It makes me want to go find these new games or new thoughts or new ideas that I've seen people talk about from the contributors. Excellent job to all the other contributors who put in segments this week. Love seeing and hearing all the vastly different perspectives. Hopefully you guys can get behind what I'm talking about, being a catalyst for positive change in a way that you can affect your group around you, but also in how you can be creative when it comes to gaming and other things for that matter. So thanks again for letting me come and guest host. I am Bryan Drake. Hope you enjoyed Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production.